And we are live.
We don't need the little countdown beforehand. What's that?
But I like it. I didn't record it either. It wasn't in the recording, so.
What wasn't? Oh, the 3, 2, 1.
Mm-mm.
Right, I thought you
just gave away our secret. You gave away this.
So, dude, do you remember the other day when I said about, like, I can't remember what we was talking about. We was on about something to do with. I think I said, can animals get amused? Or, do you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
I was listening to a thing the other day, and it was talking about this story about someone who owned a chimpanzee. You might have heard it. And this guy cares for this chimpanzee for ages. And there's an incident where it attacks him for whatever reason, and he has to have it put in the zoo. And he goes back to visit this chimpanzee. He stays loyal to it, but it's now in a zoo. And he goes back there to visit it every so often, and he takes cake to this. He takes birthday cake to this chimpanzee, and what happens is he takes the cake in and he gives it to the chimpanzee,
and they rip his dick off.
Have you heard it? Yeah.
Rip his face off thing. I literally just listened to it then. It was on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, so I heard this same thing, and so they absolutely maul him, but the action of them doing that is because they seen another chimp get given something, and so they experienced jealousy, didn't they? They experienced the feeling of someone else getting something that they didn't get, so they went wild and broke out the cage and attacking. But I was listening to that thinking, because it literally it answered my question from the other day when I was saying about animals feeling the same emotions as us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it answered it in a sense anyway. But yeah, I found that interesting because on some level, and it's said on that other podcast, on some level, we experience that same thing, but not quite as harsh, but it's the same. The feeling's the same regardless, isn't it?
Yeah, I went on a walk yesterday with my girlfriend. We went to Quarry, and there was 2 ponies. We got like to the top of the hill, and there was 2 ponies in the field. And first off, have you ever noticed how hilarious ponies look? Like,
what do you mean?
Their body is gigantic, so like their body and their head is like gigantic, but then their
them little legs.
Yeah, but then their feet are like this big, and it just
dwarf horses.
Yeah, dwarfs. Small horses.
Yeah, they do look weird.
Schmorsers. So these schmorsers, they were there, and it was pissing it down. And they were like wet, and my girlfriend was like, oh, like kind of thing, a little bit of empathy for them, and you know, said about them being sad. And again, we like kind of talked about emotion, and like obviously, I mean, this will take you by surprise, Paul, but I'm not a pony specialist. I'm just gonna come out straight out with it, mate.
My mind imagined a different answer there. But yeah, you know what's mad? I think horses are fucking terrifying. Have you ever been running, like you've gone running through a field or something? You've gone on a run and ended up in a field with a horse or a cow or something, and that look they give you, and you think if this thing charges at me, I'm fucked. You know what I mean?
So,
they're massive, aren't they?
Okay, so let me paint a picture here. Why are you running in a field with horses? Were they already in mid gallop and you were trying to catch them? Were you, or
no, I'm not.
running
No, I'm not running
them majestically.
I'm not running with them. So what I mean is say you go on a run, and you happen to, your path happens to cross a field. But some horses are just randomly in fields, aren't they, in the middle of nowhere? You see it all the time.
Mm.
But I've actually had
Yeah, they like hills, don't they?
Yeah, it's where they hang out. I've been followed across the field by a horse, and I have this memory of just thinking, if this thing runs at me, I'm fucked. It's literally like getting hit by a car or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Just you can't stop a car by saying "whoa" kind of thing.
So
I think they look like trapped. When you look into a horse's eyes, they always look sad and somber, and as if they're trapped in that body and they don't want to be there.
why the long face?
Yeah.
I have to draw you.
So yeah, back
to your story.
Back to the pony story. Like, I don't know. Obviously, as I said, not a pony expert, but I just imagine that they kind of, I imagine that they don't have a label on weather, so it's not going to be like, oh, miserable day out there if it's raining.
Yeah.
They're not. I can't imagine them sort of, and that's how they'd sound as well. If ponies could talk, it would be, oh, miserable day,
Well, I've funnily enough, right? So there's this when I'm driving back home. There's this road I go round, and the road has it has a field off to the side of it, and literally the field is completely open. Apart from the edge of the field where its boundaries are, there's one tree. There's several trees at the boundary, the field's boundary, but one of the trees is massive and it overhangs the field, and it's quite dense, this tree, so it's almost like a shelter. And I've drove past there, and when it's raining, the entire stock of cows from that field gather under that little bit of tree, and they're literally neck and neck. So they're getting themselves out the range. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Maybe then. Yeah.
And I've actually made that observation.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because it's like you've just said, isn't it?
It's quite an acute observation. I just remembered my dream from last night, dude. And now it's got me wondering whether this would be an effective way of getting down from a tree. So my dream was in this really, really big Jocko Willink. You know Jocko Willink? One of my mentors, Navy SEAL dude, badass dude,
no.
Motivating. You have to check out one of his podcasts, dude. I'll send you through some of his content. It's really cool.
Yeah, send it over, mate.
And he was down at the bottom, and I climbed this tree, and I managed to climb at like ungodly speed. I climbed it like a black bear. You ever seen a black bear climb a tree?
Running down it from first or something.
Spinning legs like on Scooby-Doo. I had so I went up the tree really, really quickly, and I was like, oh, got to the top. And then when I got to the top, I was very, very, very high. Like, I'm talking like 100 feet and plus. And then I was like, oh fuck. And I was really, really scared. I remember being like terrified, being at the top, being like, oh fuck. And so what I did was I clamped, and I'm gonna say this without thinking about it. Like, this is just what I remember doing, and it might, as I'm saying it, might not make any sense. But what I did is, so if you imagine, I try and paint a picture. So I'd wrap my hands, both arms around the tree, and I'd get a grip, and then both legs around the tree, and then I'd hook my feet together so that now I've got hooked feet and I've got hooked hands. And then what I'd do is I would shimmy down the tree, but in my dream it made sense. It would be like I'd always have one thing hooked and one not. So either I'd have my hands hooked, and I'd be moving my feet down. They would be climbing me down.
Yeah.
I'd move my hands down with my feet hooked.
Dude, have you ever seen? I imagine it to be like. Do you remember those little rubber men with like balls on their hands and feet? And
Only
you used to throw
throwers.
them at the wall, and it'd like go down the wall like that.
Yeah, yeah. What would you do? Like? Would you just buy them, or would they be in breakfast cereal? It seems like something you get in breakfast cereal.
You're speaking about climbing, then, right? So things that are usually good at climbing and like typical things like, I don't know what a good example is, but dude, have you seen mountain goats?
Penguin? Would penguin be an example?
Yeah, have you ever watched footage of a mountain goat scaling up the side of a cliff?
Yes, they're fucking insane. Like they
It's
may as well have chalk on their hooves. They're experienced climbers.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them had like a little satchel of chalk wrapped around its little waist. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. I'd be like, okay, I know this guy's deal.
A little bit of rope attached from one goat to the other for safety. But no, there's this video I've watched. And I've either seen it on a documentary or I've watched it on YouTube, and it's literally this mountain goat, and it's on the side of literally a cliff that we couldn't really climb, and it's sort of like jagged rocks going up in layers, and it's walking along the side, and it's getting stalked by like a mountain lion or a jaguar or something at the top.
Yeah.
Some sort of big cat. And the big cat literally runs down the mountain face first, like leaping downwards. And then they go on this chase along the side of a cliff. But dude, it's not far off vertical. And it doesn't look possible how this goat stood upright but running along the side of a cliff. Do you know what I mean?
And you said that they then go on to the chase. Or...
No, it chases it along this mountain.
Yeah, that's fucking bonkers. And I thought you were going to say an eagle, because I know that eagles pick up sheep and goat and then just drop them. They just swoop down.
Really?
Yeah, they swoop down, grab a hold of them, and then pick them up, and then they'll just let go of them. And then they're like, have a wonderful day! And then obviously it'll smash down on the rocks, split it all open, and then it'll just go down and start like chewing on it.
Feeding on the body?
Yeah, chewing on its spleen and whatnot.
That's mad, that.
Delicious spleen. Yeah. It's what I do. It's what I do to my groceries. If I'm going to make a salad, I'll just throw a load of courgettes.
You can't open this particular coconut. You're just smashing it from your top floor of your house.
Yeah.
Out the window.
Just throwing it down, like living in a block of flats, and I'm just hurling it down the stairs.
So what else has gone on today?
What was that fucking massive Big Bang? Oh, don't worry about it. I think it's just Lee making a fruit salad, or I think Lee's having a Hawaiian night. Wait, where's coconuts from? I guess you'd get them in Hawaii, would you?
They're in a lot of like, I'm thinking like Jamaican or something. Okay. They're in like, I don't know, I might be wrong. They're in curries though, aren't there? There's a lot of coconut in curries and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't think that's where they
where is it?
I don't think that's where they originate from.
Caribbean have like coconut rice and stuff, don't they?
I'm like, where's coconut? Yeah. where do coconuts sort of grow? And you're like, there's a place down the road from me called Spice. You get them all the time in their curries. I think they originate from there.
Yeah, Spice Tower.
What were you gonna say?
When?
You remember? I remember.
I don't know. I think I was trying to skip to a different topic too early, and now I forgot about it. So we move on. We move forward.
Behind you, is that a bread bin?
It certainly is.
Okay, because it says
a hell of a bread bin.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't personally ever store my bread in a specific pot.
Where'd you keep food in your
van? Usually just what I do is I wear like really big, so like flares, like you got trousers and you got flares. I just wear flares, and then I wear them at the bottom of the flares. I'll tuck the flares in
to my socks, and I wear like strong socks. You know,
I just imagine you to have some like a wardrobe / grocery cupboard. So you've just got stacks of stacks of jeans, and right next to your fucking jar of honey. Space, great for space.
Yeah, Pringle pots and watches.
Watches round the Pringle pots.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I have.
Where I'm going with that. I'm saving yet more space. He simply just wants to save more space.
You can't stop this guy from saving space.
You just can't keep him from saving it. Well,
New, coming soon, Space Savers. With
Space Saver. So what have you got in store for the rest of the week, dude? Talk to me.
I don't know, but I'm tired of not saving space. God damn it! If only there was a man out there that could help me. A man in a space-saving suit. Like your suit, your superhero costume's really revealing and really inappropriate because you're trying to save space.
You know, like those. Have you seen those vacuum sealed bags that you get? You get these bags. You put like clothing in, and then you just suck the air out. Drinks down. Imagine someone coming round and they're just trying to put really inappropriate things in these bags, like your cat and stuff. So putting your cat in, but just leaving its head out and sucking out the air.
And you're like, they interview you, and you're like, you know, so I'll just be walking down the street, and like the costume you're in is like you've got like vacuum packed costume, so like you can just see a clear outline of your dick and balls, and you're like, yeah, and you're like you're in an interview, and you're like, oh, I'm walking down the road, and I know everybody's looking at me, looking at my outfit, and I know they're thinking, wow, look at that guy's space-saving outfit.
Look at him saving space.
They're covering their children's eyes up. They don't want to see. They don't want their kids to save space like me. Their kids can't be trusted. This is a very professional.
It's a disastrous situation. So I think did you mention the other day that you was planning to sell your van?
Yes, in June I'll sell it.
Tell me why. Why?
The date is subject to change. You know, but I want to sell it in June because it's summer. I think it will fetch the most amount of money. And the reason why I'm gonna sell it. Oh, that's a point. My podcast's gonna have to change its name. We'll cross.
Yeah, we've got our name.
Yeah. So I'm gonna sell it, and then I'm gonna start investing in properties. I'm gonna do a little bit of property investing. I've spent about 9 months learning, watching multiple YouTube videos, speaking to mortgage advisors, estate agents, etc. Yeah, and I've got a plan together to buy in a fairly cheap location and then rent out. And what I'll do is I'll probably, I will. I'll have almost enough money to put 25% down on 2 properties. And so I'll put some money down on 1 property, get a tenant moved in, get it all squared away, kind of like learn a little bit. And then about 3 months later, buy a second one. Because what I want to do is then I want to kind of secure, and I have it on interest only, and then so the money I make for that will then pay for where I'm moving into. So that's the whole thing behind the van, as well as I do enjoy going out, walking in the wilderness, being in nature, being a little nature baby. But I also, living in it, the main objective is to save money, eat shit for a couple of years, and then eat caviar. Very much the way it's going to be.
Yeah, so you're hibernating for a while.
Yeah.
So you to live more comfortably.
Exactly.
No, I get that, dude.
Yeah, long-term gratification. Plus, as you'll know, like through the army, the one thing the army certainly taught me was humans are incredibly adaptable, and like this is fine. I've got everything I need in this space.
I learned that in the army, and then learned it twice as much in jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
I mean, if people are watching, they might be curious, but I won't delve into that until you're
no, we can talk about that whenever.
What did you go to jail for, Paul?
Drugs.
Drugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not doing them though.
No.
No, not doing
I got selling. It does happen. Yeah, no.
But it's one of them things, isn't it, where it's like what's crazy, I think, is people will have this concept of people that go to prison, but dude, remember like when we were joining the army, 90% of the people were like, oh, if I'm not here, I'm in prison. That was it. Like that was quite literally.
That was the thing, wasn't it? But I don't know if that's still a thing now.
I think so, dude. When you're young, you know, it's and at the end of the day, you're like, you know, one of the most generous, positive-minded people I know, and so it's like, you know, that and you were doing that. There was a means to it, wasn't there? There was a mission, there was a goal, there was an end goal. It wasn't a case of you know, I mean, you know, like it is questionable selling heroin to children, but you know, who am I to judge, really?
No,
amputee, you know, to selling heroin to amputee children, orphans.
now I have to explain it. Yes, leaving the army with a lot of optimism, without a lot of direction, did lead to some partying and some involvement in the supply of drugs. Which I paid the price for. But I found that once you get a punishment for something, particularly, you can go either way. You can get punished for something with regards to doing something like that, and you can decide to learn from it and make it never happen again, or people just stay involved in stuff and end up getting more involved in worse things. So for me, I made one mistake and then very much paid the price.
When you were in jail, because this is something I thought about actually, you know, this has crossed my mind that I reckon a lot of people, without knowing it, probably need jail time, and they might not need jail time, but what everybody certainly does need is they need to sit down and they need to like not have stimulation through the phone, through the laptop, through the TV, through whatever, and they need to kind of be a little bit bored, and then in that boredom, in that space, you can kind of start to figure out what you really want. And I think like, obviously I'm not, you know, I'm not like petitioning to get every like, you know, 16-year-old or 15-year-old in jail. I'm not like sign this petition, but do you somewhat like, you know, sitting in that, like what was the thing? What was, you know, did you have any epiphanies? Did you in jail? Did you have like, you know, did you meditate much? Did you question what you wanted? Because it seems like when you got out, you had like you had a great deal of momentum and fire in your belly, and now you're doing well, really well.
Yeah. What took place for me, landing in a place like that, which is massively negative, and what I found that I didn't like the environment, and for me, it was a massive wake-up call to say I'm not like a lot of these people that are in here. Do you know what I mean? So you're thrown in essentially a cage with people that I want to say have different values and different views than you. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And not so much in common. So for me, I looked at it from like a military point of view. Like, I've been in the army, I understand discipline. I thought, right, this is the biggest test of my life up to now. So I'm going to beat this thing. I'm going to stay motivated. I'm going to train. I'm not going to allow I think people can be influenced by their environment massively. So you can become a product of people you're around. If you're around nasty people or negative people, you can become a product of that. So for me, landing in there to experience that environment, for me it was a wake-up call to understand that what I was doing wasn't okay. Do you know what I mean? And I accept the challenge to get past this. And initially, when you first land in there, I thought like that final end point of coming home was a million miles away. But you break it down day by day, and before you know it, it does come around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So initially, what happens initially, as soon as you land in there, you're counting each day. So days are quite slow in there. And what happens is you're robbed from most normal pleasures. You don't experience nice tasting food, or you don't experience much fun. It's very, very dull.
You know, the love of another woman.
Yeah, I know. Imagine if a list made a massive list and didn't bring that up, and you're like, "Oh, women."
Yeah, and you're like, "Oh no, dude, I got laid every day when I was in prison, non-stop." What one thing I was curious about is so you're in prison. Do you have the best teeth in prison? That's really what I want to know. And be honest. Yeah.
They were up there, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I did see, I've witnessed someone using only his gums, eating a full chip butter with only gums. Someone had no teeth whatsoever, and I found that quite interesting. I thought,
Yeah, I mean, it's a great deal of adaptability right there. You remember when we were on a stag do, and I just remember this. We were on a stag do, and we're in a club, and no, we weren't in a club. We were in a pub, and we're all sat down. It's my favorite thing to do of all time. Like, I think one of my most favorite things to do is go to a pub, have a few beers, and it needs to be quietish. If it's got like music, I'm like, fuck this, I'm out. I want to have like a good conversation, hearty conversation, lofty spiritual connection, you know. And I remember we were there, and you and I were chatting, and then you got incredibly weird and incredibly like what's the word now? Like, it's another word for basically going in, like, just like, what's the where you kind of like, you take yourself out. You're like, yeah, I'm not going to get involved with this. You kind of recluse. Pardon? Again, another one of them things where I use a word and it came to me, but I was like, fuck knows what it means. But anyway, so we're chatting away, and then I said to you, I was like, Paul, dude, I got to ask, how are your teeth so white? Like, did you get them whitened? And you kind of just went, you were like, just don't wash them with water. I just brush them, and then I just keep the toothpaste in. And I was like, is that really it? And you were like, but you were really shady about it. You like, I've never seen you so nervous and shady about a situation before. Like, I can talk to you about anything, and you're quite literally tell me anything, like anything. But then I talk to you about your teeth.
Like I'm harboring this secret or something.
Yeah.
No, I don't
really,
to be honest.
Really shady.
But yeah, no, that is when I did the PT course in the army. One of the aspects of the course is we had to do a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll never forget this. We did. We could choose a subject. The subject itself wasn't completely relevant. The benefit of the PowerPoint that we had to deliver was to see if we had the skills to teach, because PTing is effectively teaching, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So it was seeing if you could deliver some information to someone effectively. So I did my presentation on asthma, But there was a girl on the course, and she chose to do it on teeth or on dental hygiene. And one of the things she said was, people brush the teeth, and the first thing they do is they brush the teeth and they rinse the mouth out. But what they're doing is they're washing away all the chemicals that are in the toothpaste that are going to act on your teeth and clean them. So what you're actually supposed to do is you're supposed to put your toothpaste on your brush your teeth, and then just spit it out into the sink, but don't rinse your mouth. And then what happens is that keeps acting over the course of the night if you brush your teeth before bed. And that was something that stayed with me. And ever since then, I've done it, and I've seen the results. It's actually what I do, and it does work.
No,
What she basically said, which made sense. When you clean your teeth, you're cleaning it for 2 minutes, or so that chemical can either act on your teeth for 2 minutes or 12 hours. Do you know what I mean? Because when you go to bed, it's still in there. It's still on there working its magic. So, and the other thing was flossing. Them two things I've done ever since, and I've not had any issues. So
now dental hygiene is up there in terms of conversation. In terms of like arousing me in conversations. We talked about going on dates and talking about picking up other people's dog poo to our dates.
Yeah.
As a Kickstarter, I think the conversation would then have to lead onto dental hygiene and to talk of dental hygiene. And what I have done a couple of times, I definitely don't do it, but I've done it a couple of times just because I remember when you told me that. I think if you brush your teeth and then you kind of just spit it out, you're still gonna have like bits. Do you know what I mean? You'll have like, I don't know, you have like bits of pistachio in there, bits of like chicken, whatever you've eaten. So I'll then rinse my mouth, and then I'll get more toothpaste on the toothbrush, and then keep it on there, and then keep it in. But I usually do just rinse my mouth out. It's every now and then I'll kind of remember and I'll kind of leave it in there. I'm not overly disciplined, but I might try it. And
yeah, no, it does work. And at first, when you first do it, you find that your mouth still feels like foamy and weird, and it don't feel right initially, but it made sense to me when she said it, and I thought, yeah, I'm gonna try that. And ever since, it's worked.
I'm married 12 years.
Yeah, we now have children. Do you know something though? I've told that story to quite a few people, and everybody that's tried it has come back to me afterwards and said it does work, that, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, that's how we'll identify our listeners in the future. They'll come up and they'll be like, I enjoy your podcast, and you'll be like, I know, great teeth.
That time you did the story about carrying poo, I've done it ever since. Bag of poo through the park.
Multiple bags. Bags. Yeah.
Can I just ask what bags you use?
Pardon?
Can I just ask what bags you use?
Yeah, we'll leave
biodegradable.
We'll leave a description or a link, like affiliations with poo bags, dog poo bags. I think as well what will help is focus, pay attention to brushing your teeth, because like when you brush your teeth as well, especially with like technology, you can like, I've done it where I've brushed my teeth and I've had YouTube on, and I'm brushing my teeth and I'm kind of like watching YouTube and I'm paying attention to that. And this is I think like, I bet if you were to do a study where you'd have like people if you could like see how clean people's mouths are, say you did a study of 1,000 people and then you split them into two groups of 500, and you had like you measured how clean how like the cleanliness in their mouth and oral hygiene, and then you went and did, I don't know, a month of the first, group A have nothing on, no electricity, no distractions, and they spend 2 minutes twice a day brushing their teeth, and they're just focused on the sensation, everything. And then you had another group that did 2 minutes still, and brush their teeth, but they give their attention away. They watch TV. They did like whatever it might be. They were allowed to multitask. I wonder if there would be a difference. I think there would, personally.
Yeah, I get that. So brushing your teeth tends to be something like, it's something you don't particularly enjoy. It's something you want to get out of the way. Like, fucking hell, go and brush your teeth. Do you know what I mean? You need to do it because it's routine, but it's not a task that's particularly enjoyable, is it? It's something you just do. So yeah, no, I get that. It's probably rushed quite a lot of the time, isn't it?
I'm going to try what I'm going to do in the future. I'm going to try and
gonna try and clear my throat before the podcast.
Yeah. Remember when I'd always send you voice recordings, and right at the beginning I go and then I go, I should probably do that before, like I start the voice recording and then clear my throat.
I've done that, ringing somebody. If you ever, a lot of the time now, people answer the phone incredibly fast. So when you press ring, I've gone to ring somebody, but people have usually got the phones in their hand, haven't they? So
yeah,
I've got to press ring, and then I'm literally like, we were already on the phone for the entire thing. Hello? Just on the other side. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, you feel like that?
It was someone I didn't know well enough to be doing that on the other end of the phone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and see if I can find people that enjoy wash. That'll be my new mission. That'll be my new purpose. Just to see if who enjoys brushing their teeth. Find people that are brushing their teeth.
Who and why?
Who
and why?
I want to say who.
I want to say who. But yeah, going back to what you were saying before about the jail thing, and what was like resonating as like something that made me feel like I definitely wouldn't be going back and wanted to pursue a life of positivity and just cracking on, was that initial first few days in there that I found extremely alien to anything I'd experienced. Because what's really weird about being in a room, you can be in a room and be perfectly relaxed and not feel the need to leave that room and be perfectly comfortable, but as soon as you experience the knowledge that that room's secured and the door's locked and you're unable to leave until the door's opened again, you quite often you get, especially initially when you haven't experienced it, you have the desire to leave the room even more. Do you know what I mean? So you feel on edge, like you can't relax. So it's not the same. The dynamic of the being in that room, it could be the same room. The dynamic's now changed based on like how comfortable you are being in there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
go on.
To me, that and I found that everything was very thick walls, big metal doors. Like it had a very it had a sense of feeling very trapped in there. Do you know what I mean? But what was unsettling and what was like, you get used to it in time, but was quite difficult to chill, is you have to be counted up to 5 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So that means they count, the officers will count all the prisoners that they're responsible for in a certain wing, or they'll count them and just make sure everyone's there. But one of these counts is in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. So what they do is they have to walk past each cell, and you have a little window, and they open it up and they'll shine a torch through the window. But if they can't physically see you, they have to they'll bang on the door, or they'll have to wake you up to see you. You know, if say you're turned over and you've got your quilt over you, if they can't physically see you,
they shout, "Show some skin."
They don't shout that, but effectively, yeah. And initially, at first, you was almost waiting for that to happen. So the first sort of week of being in there, I found I weren't sleeping through the night because that was going to happen. You was almost sat anticipating it. But
that's horrible.
You can hear them approaching from a distance away because you can hear the keys jingling on the officer's like belt. So you'll hear them walking along the corridor. Like before it happens. So the initial thing of being in there, it's not a particularly difficult place to exist. It's just very boring and negative and has bad energy to it. So when you're in there, unless you stay massively positive and concentrate on to me, I was doing a lot of stretches, doing a lot. I was reading some books, but I was doing a lot of yoga and stuff, and then training as often as I could in there. But
yeah,
I just remember, just to summarise on that, I remember being hit with this overwhelming understanding that wasn't for me, that place. And I knew as soon as I was out, my path would be steering me in a direction that wouldn't end up back there. So
I feel like
does that make sense?
Yeah. It was actually really insightful, actually.
I've got to be honest, there's a lot of information for me to discuss with you on that matter, but I think we should unravel that over a couple of episodes because it might be a bit boring all at once. But there's a lot of things that are quite interesting about it in terms of the dynamic of how people are in there with each other. Because it's like in a swarm of negativity, there's glimmers of pleasure and joy, and like, so even though you're in a horrible place, having a terrible time, you'll have the odd moments of happiness. Do you know what I mean? But they're few and far between. But you almost it becomes your normal. So what that does illustrate is a person's ability to adapt is incredible.
It sounds not too dissimilar to the army, doesn't it? You know, like
the army was good training for it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I felt like it was my next mission, because in the army you're taught to do everything disciplined, and like you're taught to just get on with it. Do you know what I mean? And when you hit a place like that attitude's very beneficial, because rather than there's a lot of sulking in there, there's a lot of negativity, and there's a lot of people that moan about the position. So
did you go round sort of poking and prodding at them, being like, "Hey, grumpy guts, grumpy guts, come on"?
No. So what is apparent in English jails is people gravitate towards like-minded people. So you have people in there, it's quite cliquey. So you have people in there that take drugs and they sort of knock about together, and then people who play pool, and there'll be people that play cards in there, and then you have people that train. And if you gravitate towards the gym, then you'll find you have more in common with others that are going to the gym. So you find that I wouldn't say you make a lot of friends in there, but when you're in a place for a couple of years, you're gonna make some friends. You know what I mean? And I did. I made a couple of mates in there. So
it's that camaraderie, isn't it? It's like you're going through shit. You're going through shit together, and because you're in it, it's, you know, like in the army, because you're both, or you're all in the same boat and you're all going through the same shit. There's a lot of camaraderie in that.
So it's exactly that. So it's almost like the expression, "the enemy of my enemy is my friend." So you're in the enemy being metaphorically as the jail itself. So the fact that you're both being punished by the same entity means you have something in common. So Yeah, I get that, mate, and that's very true.
Do you play pool? You mentioned pool.
I played some pool in there, yeah, and I've played it a bit over the years. I'm not particularly good at it, but I'm okay. What about you?
I think I'd beat you in a game of pool.
We'll have to narrow the distance between us and put it to the test, dude.
Yeah.
I will have to narrow that 200-mile distance all the way down to 2 meters. Oh, COVID, of course.
Yeah, the little reference of the circumstances, the times we're in.
I think it's becoming a little gimmick now for every time we speak, but the fruit bag's even more or less impressive today. It's
yeah,
I think it needs mentioning every time we speak together, but
paying homage.
There's not enough quantity in there.
Yeah, so what if there was one thing you would change about this podcast leaping out at you right now? Would it be like the lack of fulfillment in my bag, in my ball?
Yeah. Take from that what you will, but yeah, you need more fruit in the bag.
We're recording this now on Sunday night. If we do record on Sunday night, every Sunday night, then I'm afraid, it's gonna look, for my fruit bag, it's gonna look bleak. It's gonna be offering no shelter or no purpose or no fulfillment in life, because on a Sunday I do my food shop on a Monday. So
yeah,
a little bit of insight to my routine. So yeah, so if it's on a Sunday, it's going to be looking like that.
It's like being at a bus stop. There's going to be no people queuing for the bus on a Sunday night when there's no buses running.
My fruit bag is just like a bus stop.
It's exactly like a bus stop.
Uncanny.
Why didn't you think of that?
In fact,
dude, why is that light flickering behind you?
I don't know, but I punched it just before the pod because, I think it's the LEDs. I only put them in last week. They've been in 1 week. Wait, Wednesday. So they've been in 1 week and 4 days, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, 1 week and 4 days. And I was like, and I took it out, and I you can unwire it, and then I and I fucking, so then I was like to try and stop it. Yeah, I often when I show people the van, they ask me why have I got a bus stop hanging up, and I'm like, no, yeah. It's a fruit bag.
Dude, why do we revert back to our inner chimp whenever technology's not working? We think that slapping it might be the answer. Do you know what I mean? If your phone's crashing or playing up, you slap it on your leg, or
yeah.
Do you ever done it with the side of your telly or something? This is fucking playing
up the side of its head. Yeah, smack the side of its head.
In what world would smacking it ever work? But sometimes it does.
Yeah.
How does it work?
Well, it's how they used to raise children, wasn't it, as well?
Give them a good slap.
Yeah, smack your side of your head.
My daddy whooped my ass last night. Your daddy ever whoop your ass?
Do you ever bark at people with your crotch?
No.
I do. That's how I greet people. That's my icebreaker. I just leap forward with my crotch.
Do you know something, right? And I don't know why I found this hilarious, but I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast the other day, and it had some comedian called Eddie Izzard on. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, no, he ran marathons, didn't he? He ran 20 back to back.
So a lot of the discussion on there was to do with his running. Yeah, he was running marathon a day for X amount of days. I think he ran something like, I want to say 30 odd marathons in 40 days or something. It was impressive. It was close to the number of marathons to have done one every day. But yeah, he was speaking about his method of comedy on stage, and he said he just said in his British, in his like strong, posh London accent, he goes, "I don't really write comedy. I just walk out on the stage and say things that are on my mind, like why's cheese got 2 E's in it?" And it was just done random, but it proper made me laugh, and I don't even know why, because it's not even funny. Like, it's just how he said it. But he was just explaining that he doesn't write anything down. Because Joe Rogan was really surprised by this. He went, "Oh, you don't write your bits down?" And he was like, "No, I just go on stage and try playing around with a few things." That's what he says. He just plays around with what's going on in his head.
That's insane. That's like because you and I can both improv, but I feel like there needs to, for me. I mean, I guess I might be able to do it if I just started talking.
Sometimes you need a nudge, don't you?
Yeah,
So,
like what we work well because we can just bounce off one another, and I kind of like with you especially. I feel like I can improv. We can just make shit.
yeah.
Up.
Do you know what I did find interesting about that Eddie Izzard?
Crossdresser?
He's a straight cross-dresser, yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't think that was a thing. I thought when people dress up as a woman, they're usually gay, but or homosexual. But he wasn't, was he? Or isn't?
Yeah, I didn't watch that podcast. I have to watch it, but I feel like if you're cross-dressing and you're straight, like what's the deal there? Where did that come from?
Because it's not even classed as camp, is it? It's something entirely different. You enjoy wearing woman's clothes, but he wears like makeup and stuff. And what he was saying is, he said he's got two identities. He's a man and a woman. So sometimes he'll dress as a man and sometimes as a woman. He said both are different. But he said, I'm a woman today. But he was just still speaking in a man's voice. So he was just completely the same person, but just dressed as a woman with lipstick on and that. It was pretty weird. But
yeah, I know it's gonna sound controversial me saying this, but it's kind of like it's definitely not like there's definitely something behind that, like underlying like mummy or daddy issues or like whatever.
Yeah, so
I feel like it's not gonna, because like you could like hit a golf ball and then be like, oh, that was kind of cool, and then all of a sudden now you're into golf, and I wonder if it could be the same. You kind of put on some high heels and you're like, ah, this is kind of cool. Like as a kid, you put on high heels or whatever, and you're like, ah, this is kind of.
I don't think something like that happens overnight. I think obsessions like that or interests like that are developed over time, and sometimes they can be triggered as a kid. I think because he's not just woke up at some point and thought, I'm going to try this. I think there's a desire from a young age, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, and I get it if you've been married for like 30 years and then you just kind of like in the bedroom you cross-dress or whatever because you've done every single thing under the
We've tried everything else.
Yeah. Just like all sorts of different gimmicks and whatnot in the background, or like you're on a fucking cast, like you're on a set.
Yeah.
Just got like Daleks and stuff in your room, and you're just like, yeah, we've done it all.
We've tried the full kit and caboodle.
Not heard that before, caboodle, but I like that. That's quite enjoyable to say, isn't it? Caboodle.
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 Caboodle, mate. Fucking caboodle,
mate.
Do you know how to say? You know how to say bread in Welsh? It's bara.
Bara.
Bara. Yeah, bara. Bara.
I find Wales quite unusual.
In what sense? And how often have you been there? Because I bet not that often. I bet you've been there less than 10 times. I bet you've been there less than 10 times. Fewer than 10 times.
I'm definitely not at expert level in terms of hours spent in Wales. if they say the going rate is to become an expert is 10,000 hours.
Hours, yeah, mastering your craft.
I've probably done about 100th of 1% of the amount of time needed to have a say on this matter, but I don't know. I find the language difficult.
There's
lots of L's. It looks messy. It's messy. It seems pointless. Like they have you. So when you drive from Manchester, when you're driving across into Wales, it's dead weird because I did this quite recently as well. I went to I forget the name of the place, but it's near Mount Snowdon. I went to this caravan site with my sister and the kids, and as soon as you so within like an hour's driving from where I am, you can be across the border into North Wales. So, and there's like this immediate change suddenly, because you're driving through motorways and country lanes and A roads and all that, and as soon as you cross over, the first thing you notice is the signs start to look quite weird. You know, like there'll be names of towns that I'll have shitloads of letters in going across, and
with a great deal of the letter L. A lot of
yeah, they like it.
They like the
They're a
L.
fan of letter L.
Pardon?
How do you say 10 L's in a row?
I think like
is
it
it
roll your tongue?
I think it's like
yeah.
Your ex-girlfriend was Welsh, wasn't she?
Pardon?
Your ex-girlfriend was Welsh, wasn't she?
Yeah, that's how I learned a little bit of Welsh. Was just kind of learning it with
So what's the deal? What's the deal with Welsh people? Are they predominantly English speaking, but they have some understanding of their national language? Or what's the crack? Because you never hear it being spoke, do you?
Only if so. Just through my experience, was they'd speak English, but then if there was an English person there, they'd speak Welsh.
As soon as they're slagging you off.
Yeah, then you just.
Then they revert back.
You know what though? Like they say, don't they? Learning a new language will open up different, light up different areas of your brain. So I think I would have loved it if I was taught different. And then I think learning English and Welsh growing up, I think that would be awesome just for the sake of. Yeah, but
you'd invest all that time in learning the language, and the only time it'd present itself as becoming useful is if you're in a situation where people slag you off in a Welsh language, which might only happen once in your whole life.
Yeah.
You dedicated years to it, to learning it.
Yeah, I feel like the dedication of like learning the language is probably a bit of like, what's the right word? I was going to say nostalgia, but I don't think that's the right word.
What language would you choose to learn?
Patriotism, isn't it? Kind of thing.
Dude.
What?
What language would you choose to learn out of all the languages?
Spanish. I'm learning Spanish at the moment, so Spanish.
Yeah.
See.
So, like, the Spanish, is it called what's Spanish in terms of like? Because there's Spanish what people in like South America speak, isn't there? What's that, Portuguese or whatever? But
isn't there a couple? I think there's a couple.
I don't know. I'm confused by this.
Yeah, I am. I don't know because I think Brazilians. No. People.
Because is it? I don't know. There's some connection there because.
Yeah. What we should do is we should just talk on this podcast as if we know. We should talk with certainty and just be wrong.
Yeah.
Would be wrong with certainty. So like when you ask those type of questions, I'll just straight up be like, yes, and I'll be like, absolutely, Paul.
Yeah. So we never ever say no.
Yeah.
It's never no.
So we never look like we don't know something.
Yeah.
Sarina o no café con leche por favor.
I don't know what language. I don't know what language I'd learn. To be honest, maybe German. Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
German seems angry.
Yeah, they're very bitter people. They're bitter about us. Yeah, I think I'd probably learn German.
That's interesting. Why?
I don't know, because it was a subject in school.
Really? You have
Yeah.
no desire to fly. This is why I'd learn Spanish, because
Oh no, it was French. No, it was French in school
it's
actually.
both. You can learn German or French, isn't it? That was
Isn't it?
my school. You could learn German or French, and I learned German.
Yeah.
And now to count to 10, I think that's it. Fuck all the rest. Like,
Do you know for this whole conversation, I've been flipping this spoon up on the table, making it turn over.
good. I'm glad you're finally, doing something with your life.
Yeah. I'm developing my ability to multitask, to have a meaningful conversation and develop my dexterity.
That's beautiful.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it is. That's poetry, baby, right there. Improving your dexterity whilst.
I was proud of using that word then. As I was gearing up to say it, I was feeling quite aroused. Have you ever heard someone else use a word and you can't wait for the moment when you can use it, when you think, I've learnt a new word today and I like it. I like the way it sounds. And when you presented a situation where you can drop that word into conversation and make it sound intelligent, it feels good.
When I was doing lorry driving, delivering explosives, there was one guy that I partnered up with, and him and I didn't get along at all. And but he didn't get along with anyone. He's a very angry man. And he didn't,
I imagine sharing a cab with a lorry driver you don't like is probably similar to having a cellmate in jail that you don't like. It's a similar space.
Yeah, and you're like, and they're like, oh, you're going to Norway, and you're like, fuck. Like, this is a beautiful country, but I'm with an asshole. And there's some people you can't. There's some people you just, you can be patient, you can be emotionally intelligent and whatnot, but there's just some people that you can't. That you straight up, like, I'd be driving, he'd be screaming at me, and I'm like, bro, I'm in a fucking lorry with bombs in the back, and you're screaming at me, you're like shouting at me, and like in my head I'm thinking like, are we gonna fight? Like, he's an old guy as well, like in his 50s as well, and divorced, and from his like 90th wife. Anyway, so the reason I brought it out is because you said about a word, and at this time in so one of the from 2016 to 2017, because I was during that job, I was like, right, I spend a lot of time just sat on my ass when I'm not driving. So I read a book a week for that year, and obviously I was spending about 4 hours, maybe a little bit more, every day reading a book. And so, words were just coming to me. It was I was much able to have them at my disposal, at my artillery, and and we got in an argument one time, and he was what did he, and he just shouted out, we were like, he was drunk, and he just shouted out like he was like, you just fucking pick words from your books and then you just decide you're going to use them that day. And it just really fucking made me laugh. And it just and I just thought in my head, like, I wonder how long he's been holding on to that for. Like, how long that he'd been, and then, so what I did is, we were in, I think it was France. We were in France, and we kind of and so we'd had that argument. I think the next day I'd seen him, and then, and I was out on a walk, and he was out on a walk, and I seen him, and I deliberately went, oh, how serendipitous. Like, of this moment, like, oh, how serendipitous, knowing that it would there's just a little part of him that's like stressing out.
So what I took away from that, which is really, it's a good point, to be honest, is, so you said that you was in a beautiful place with an arsehole. So Norway in itself the experience of being there would be determined on who you're with. So, and that's very true. You can, if you were with the right people in a bad place, it would be a lot better than being with the wrong people in a great place. So
Yeah.
if you was put with all your enemies in, I don't know, say on holiday on a beach and
In
a
Disney
party
World.
destination, but you absolutely hated each other, you had nothing in common,
You're
the
in
chances are there's going to be chaos. But
You're in Disney World with Hitler.
yeah, but if you go, I don't know, you could be in a miserable place, the weather could be crap, but if you're with top people, you're going to enjoy it, aren't you? There's going to be a better.
Well, yeah, we had
Yeah.
laugh in Brecon sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. I still, you know what I still do, dude? And I've done this for years.
Masturbate with your headphones in.
Yeah.
With your keys in your front door.
I still drive when I'm driving down the road, especially if you're on a motorway, you're just driving forward for ages. And if your attention gets drawn to the side, and like if it's raining and I can see a woodland area, my mind's always cast back to being horribly cold and miserable on exercise in the army. And I get this little shiver down my spine, do you know what I mean? And that's like, that sort of, that stays with you, do you know what I mean? I remember the feeling all them years later of being miserable and cold and wet, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I still look over at those woodland areas and like I have this little thought thinking, ugh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what's crazy though is I go on when it's pissing it down, it can be like really, really hammering it down, and I'll go out and I'll go on walks, and I'll go out and I'll deliberately like walk a mountain when it's fucking pissing.
Yeah, well, I agree with that, dude. That experience is great, but have you ever had, when you've been telling someone about the army who's a civilian, and they'll always say, fucking hell, I'd love that. I love camping. But it's not camping.
No.
You do not experience them being horribly cold, wet, and miserable. The point you made is great. If you went out for the day and walked out in the hills and the weather was terrible, going through that in that environment's fine, because at the end of the day, you go home, you get warm, you get showered, the end result of that day is warmth and comfort. Yeah. But in the army, that being cold, wet, and miserable lasts all day and spills over, doesn't it?
Yeah, it can last like 2 weeks plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had this conversation with people before when they've said, "Oh, it sounds well good that. Like I love camping." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being under that shitty bivvy on a fucking sleeping bag that's fucking surrounded by bogs of wet swamp.
Yeah, you're digging.
Not comparable to being in a tent with a fucking. No. Do you know what I mean?
No. Like the idea of going on a walk, knowing that you can get out of your wet clothes, get showered, get a bath, have a glass of wine in the bath, light some candles, get into a warm, cozy bed, cook what you want, versus, okay, you're now wet, you're now piss wet through, and you've got another 3 weeks of this, and then where you'll go, and it's already getting dark, and where you're going to go is you're going to go to a wood line, and then you're going to go into that wood line, you're going to set up 3 stag points in a triangle as lookout points. And
you're then going to wait hours.
You're
then going to lie hours while the recce goes forward and sets this out. Do you know what I mean? Remember that lying in a what's it called? Before you go into a harbour. Before you go into a harbour, you go into like a I forget what they call it.
Rendezvous?
Yeah, so you have an RV before final RV, don't you, before? Yeah, I remember being sat in them for hours.
Yeah.
Just like swamp.
But that's
freezing cold.
That's the difference, isn't it? Is going to a nice cozy home, cottage, whatever it may be, versus going to a wood line and then you're cozy. What's cozy to you, or what's your idea of the house is, oh, I'm gonna dig a fucking hole in the earth, then I'm gonna put my sleeping bag there. Well, I'm gonna put the poncho across the set of trees, it's pissing it down, I'm gonna get out of my wet clothes, get into the sleeping bag. And then when I go to sleep, I'm going to get woken up twice at 11 p.m. and then again at 3 a.m. And then the next night, I might have like different. I might get up. Might have to be up at 2 a.m. But then when I go back into bed at like 3 a.m. or 3:30, then we end up getting attacked at 4 a.m. So then we have to bug out, and then you're already putting on wet clothes because you're aware of the fact that you're out there for 3 weeks and it's pissing it down for the 3 weeks. So you do have dry clothes, but you don't want to put them on yet because you want to delay the comfort. So then you end up wearing wet clothes and you go out on patrol and it might snow, and then you're all of a sudden, so it's like, yeah, it's just like, it's not like a stroll, or it's not like a 9-hour hill walk, is it? It's like 3 bastards.
Yeah.
Plus,
going back to what we were saying with like the camaraderie of being in the army and stuff, when you're in these conditions, when you lay in this RV, you lay on snow, but you've been up for days, you've had sleep deprivation, and you're miserable, cold, wet, you just want to get in your bag and fall asleep. You can still experience them moments of happiness. You can be laid there and someone can fart, and then you just suddenly find it hilarious, and all the fact for that one moment, all the fact that you're cold, wet, miserable, feel like shit just goes away because you laugh. The amusement comforts you for a split second. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and do you remember the impact of Haribo?
Yes.
Isn't that insane as well to think about? Like, you're there, and then like all of a sudden, you might
someone rustles a bag. Someone next to you goes inside, like starts rustling the what's it called? The smock.
Yeah.
I forgot about this fucking.
Yeah.
Starts
and,
rustling the smock pocket, and then you're like, what's.
They could peel an orange in their pocket, sort of scenario.
Yeah.
Like their ability to unravel a goodie without anyone knowing, and then pop it in their mouth.
Yeah. Dude, you know what I've found really counterproductive? Trying to shoot in the prone position whilst wearing a backpack and a helmet.
All of it just goes forward. Yeah.
Yeah, because you'd lie down and you're looking forward, but your backpack's going there. It's pushing your helmet forward.
Yeah.
It's tilted down past your field of view. So you're effectively looking down at the mud, but just still shooting, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you might use it as a use your burger, and that was the best, when you'd use your burger and you'd chuck it down, and then you'd use it, you'd be on it and you'd use it as like.
I remember a particular experience where I was in this attack, and I was in the prone position, and my backpack was. I was knackered by the way as well, and my backpack was up here, and it pushed my helmet forward. So in order to be able to see, I lifted my helmet up and rested it on the butt of the rifle. And what this did is it held the helmet in position, and I just flopped my head down into the chin strap, and I found it quite comfortable. And I thought, I've sussed this out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the worst, isn't it? Is a wet chin strap.
Oh God, yeah.
That's nasty. There's like, and
I just wasn't a fan of the army helmet in the slightest. Why?
Until I don't want to say his name, but when we were in Afghan, he got shot in the head, and obviously he's fine because he had the helmet on. But then that's when you become a fan of the helmet, when you're like, I can get on. Not
the fact that it's important. I mean, just the shape of it and the size. I found that in my P-head, the helmet was just ridiculous.
Big. Same, dude. Same. Like, I got issued the smallest one. It's still too big. And it's like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. We're in a fucking billion. We're funded billions. And you can't get me a helmet that fits my head.
Yeah. But, yeah. I was never a fan of the helmet. You know what is quite interesting? I wonder, since we've left the military, first of all, I wonder if they've changed the SA80 to. Do you know something? The SA80 got commissioned into use in like the 90s or
like
something.
1300s. Like,
yeah. So that
the guy,
rifle,
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well,
SA80.
Yeah. Well, his granddad created the SA80. His great granddad.
Well, you do know that Genghis Khan, he also used the SA80 before the bow. He got rid of it and started using the bow. It was faster.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Didn't jam as much. Yeah. So I wonder. Since we've left, I wonder what improvements the kit's made. Because I found everything shit. Why the fuck? When my iPhone is that big and weighs that little, is an army radio the size of a backpack.
Yeah, and it weighs it weighs the same as that pony that I seen on my walk. If I put that pony in my backpack, I would have been like, okay, cool, I've got the fucking radio. Was it the blue one? Yeah, the blue one, which was it was one of the colours, I forget now, but
I don't find ponies to be a very efficient vehicle of choice.
Yeah, but neither were any of the vehicles in there.
I was talking about ponies.
Yeah, and I was talking about the well, that's a lie, to be honest. The fucking Mastiff and Foxhound, they were fucking really good vehicles. Like I got trained up on the Foxhound and had to go over like mountains and had to do like night drives. Yeah, and you could drive. You'd have no lights on. It'd be pitch black, but you'd have all night vision cameras, and you drive through the night vision camera, and then of course, like those the bellies were like that. So I know you know this. The bellies were like that. So when there was an IED, if you drove over an IED, the explosion would just take the wheels off, wouldn't it?
It had a point to deflect outwards as opposed to.
I don't know if you know this, bit of a grim story, but one of the infantry lads, would was in the same patrol base as us. He was out on patrol and one of the IEDs went off on a Mastiff, and it blew because the wheels just blow straight out, and it decapitated him, took his head off.
The wheel did?
Yeah, the wheel did. Yeah, from the IED.
Was he on a foot patrol at the side of the Mastiff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Fucking gnarly, isn't it? But
yeah, that's horrible. Do you remember where he was from?
Those things save lives. He was I think originally he was from like St. Lucia or something, but
oh God,
I think he was just like in London. But yeah, it's like they're very good bits of kit, aren't they? The Mastiff, like
you
got the rails as well to catch the RPGs as well, like just get caught in between kind of thing.
So talk to me. What you doing tomorrow? Have you got PT sessions on? Or?
I've had to reschedule my PT because I've got to go in and do an assessment. Because I thought they said to me, when was the last time you drove? And I was like, I think it's been about 6 months, maybe. And I was like, nah, actually a bit more than that, like probably like 9, maybe a year. But it's been a year and a half since the last drove.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I've got to go in tomorrow to co-op, and I'm going to do an assessment at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Once you've got your HGV license, are you covered for life? Like that license never expires, or how does it work?
Mine
So my I think I've got to do retest in 56. So I got a while.
Yeah.
I got a while, yeah, but I think it's 2056. I've got
Fucking hell, that is a while.
It runs out. But
I wonder if the SA8 will still be used in 2056.
like the only thing they've done is they've just changed the color of the butt. Like rather than that like sort of army green, they've just changed
like
green.
in 2056, civilians like technology is that good that the iPhone is now something that's integrated into your mind, and the army is still using these fucking ridiculous 20-kilo backpack radios that fucking never get signal anyway. That are shit. I don't understand it. Why are they still using this weird, ridiculously heavy old technology? I think it's a lot of it's down to funding, don't they? They don't like replacing things, do they? Like they still use the Army Land Rovers are like 40 years old and stuff, aren't they? Like ridiculous.
Yeah, I've seen similarities between Buddhism and the army because in Buddhism they don't like to throw things out. They like to like look after things, clean it. Like the idea is when you have a tool, let's say I know you're doing in gardening or whatnot in the gardens, you would then clean that tool, dry that tool, oil it if you needed to, like oiling, what have you. And the idea is every single time you clean, and then that's the same in the army, isn't it? Is they say
yeah,
the kit, and then it looks after you. And I do it now, mate. I'll go on a walk and then I'll let my boots, if they're really muddy, I don't fuck around with it straight away. I find the easiest things to, because I'm not under pressure to have them clean immediately. So I'll let them dry. I'll leave it 2 days. And when the mud's dry, I've got like a hard brush, scrub all the mud off, and then I polish it. And I still do it now. And it's like, I think it's a good habit. It's a good, good thing to do.
Do you still have some army boots that you wear?
Yeah, I got Magnums. They're in the.
Wow, I had lowers. What are they called?
Yeah, lower or.
No, I had Altberg sneakers actually. The last pair of boots here. Do you remember that?
Yeah, isn't it crazy how you forget like certain things about the army and certain jargon, and it's crazy when you forget it because you're like, how on earth have I forgotten this when it was so such a massive part of my life?
Yeah, it is weird.
It just completely goes, and then someone will say a word and it'll bring you back, and you'll be like, oh my God. Have
you ever had dreams where you go back into the army and you dream like you're suddenly back on the base? And
yeah,
I've had quite a few of them, and they're quite. What's the word for it? They're quite
haunting.
No, you almost wake up quite. I don't know. I find them to be to have a big impression on you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I've had a dream where I'm back in the army, when I wake up, I usually remember the dream quite vividly and I'm almost relieved, thinking, bloody hell, I'm glad I'm not doing that shit again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just similar to being in jail, but I hated the amount of power the army had over you. Like they could just put you on guard, or you know what I mean. There was a lot of benefits to being in there, but I found that you wasn't in complete control, was you? And I don't like that.
And it was never as well. It wasn't exactly small things like they say improvise, adapt, overcome, and be resilient. And you'll say in your CV, if you write a CV, you'll mention the army and you'll say, I'm very resilient. And fuck me, it's not small things either. It could be you're going to spend 3 months in Canada, so you're like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, I'm going to spend 3 months in Canada. You let your girlfriend know, you let your family know, whatever. You head out there, and then you're like, yes, I'm going home in 2 weeks' time. And it's you're making plans with your girlfriend, your family, and everyone. And then they're like, oh no, you've actually got to stay out for another 3 months. And then you're like, the fuck?
Yeah, they do.
I'm not doing the entire thing over again. And it's but You know what I mean? That's just like things like that is just like bonkers, right? It's like
that doesn't really happen in any other scenario, does it?
Mm-mm.
Like, there's no working environment other than that where that's a possibility. Because in any other environment, you'd have the option, wouldn't you? Whereas you wouldn't just be being told.
Yeah. Talking about memories, dude, I remembered, and this was a while ago, that I either spent an entire day or it may have even be a weekend sea fishing. Like I went out to sea and went
Really?
fishing.
Where was that?
It was adventurous training, and I have no idea where it was, but this was something that I completely erased from my memory. And it wasn't until just randomly I remembered it. And what happened was the guy was like, yeah, the fish out here are insane. Watch this. And he had a feather, and he just like put a feather on the end of a hook and went, and then literally about 10 seconds later, reeled it in, and they had a fish on the end.
Really?
Yeah, it was bonkers.
What, because there were that many fish that one of them was bound to bite the hook, or because they'll literally bite anything?
I imagine so, yeah. I imagine it was like due to that. Either that or either that or like the fisherman was in cahoots with the fish, like he'd driven out there earlier that morning and was like, here's the plan, guys, this is what we're gonna do. Let's rehearse this. He's rehearsed it. Rehearsed it over 100 times.
This wasn't the first time. No, because in some fishing, it's like you see in like nature programs and stuff, you get them type of fish that are literally like in swarms of thousands and thousands of them, and they all move around.
Yeah.
Sync.
Well, no, it wasn't the in sync one, but it was just like loads of bubbles and stuff, and throw it over there.
Yeah.
And we caught a few, and then we cooked it in a barbecue on a beach. But that was completely erased from my memory. Like I just completely got rid of that, and then I was like, oh yeah, I did do that.
It's weird when that happens, isn't it?
Mm.
That's down to how memory works, because memory's not an exact recording in your mind for you to access of what happened. You have impressions, so sometimes things do come back to you, don't they? What you doing, dude?
Just waiting for you to say something.
Oh, what was that moment of distraction then?
Nothing.
You like looked off to the side. What was you doing?
Nothing.
Tell me.
I just need to fix a part of my van. It's falling apart. That was all.
Like literally, we're doing this podcast and you're just looking around. Your van's like falling apart. Like, you're like seeing it in the corner of your eye. Light in the background flickering.
Small fire.
Yeah,
small pan fire.
The fruit bag's getting emptier by the day.
But I've got priorities, baby.
How would you feel? How would you feel if I was to tell you that a man's only as good as his fruit bag, based on the strength of your fruit bag right now?
First off, I'd probably try and argue it. It would be a feeble...
Really in denial. No, that's not true at all.
Yeah, it'd be a feeble argument as well, because I know deep down that that's true. I know at the core, I know that that's true, that a man is only as good as his hanging fruit. But yeah, I'd probably make more of an effort. You know, I'd buy some very exotic fruit, as I said before.
You know what you could get away with, on the basis that anyone that views this will never come and physically inspect your fruit bag? You could actually buy some plastic fruit and hang it in there. Fruit that never rots.
Yeah, like a new James Bond 007, fruit that never dies.
Fruit that never dies.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Just turn my fucking van into a show home. Well, one thing I am gonna do is buy plastic plants, because I have real plants. These are real, and they get on fine. They're pretty happy. I buy succulents, because
there's something about there's something about having real plant life in your house that's supposed to be good for you, but I don't think it matters too much to you because of the amount of outdoors type activity and stuff you do. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think for you it's absolutely necessary.
No. I do enjoy I realized the happiest I ever am, and I have to do this discipline. So I have like so I read A Monk's Guide to a Clean Home and a Clean Minds, or Clean Mind and Clean Home. And what they do is in the monasteries, they'll have a different, for each date, they'll have a different cleaning rota. So they'll do different things like repairs and maintenance on the 4th, or any date what's got a 4 and an 8 in it, and etc. And you'd have different ones. So I've got that, and one of them is tend to my plants on the 9th, I think it is, or any day with a 9. And my most enjoyable thing is my favorite plants are the ones where the leaves will die and then you can like pick them out. It's really satisfying to pick out the dead leaves. And yeah, I honestly, I really fucking enjoy doing that. Really.
Dude, are you familiar with a terrarium?
Yes.
I want to get one of these. So for anyone that doesn't know, it's essentially a glass jar that contains plant life from certain areas like the rainforest, and it develops its own ecosystem in there. And my friend's got one, and he has to water this thing, dude, like twice a year or something ridiculous. And the moisture in the plants almost provide moisture in the air, and like it's self-sufficient, providing that it gets moisture as often as a rainforest, which is a couple of times a year, which I find of interesting. But the plants in there are like, they look dead cool. It's almost like got mini trees in there and stuff. But I'd never seen one until quite recently. But
little avatar setting.
Yeah.
Miniature avatar setting. Yeah. Have you seen those plants? They're air plants. They're in the glass and they're just like they don't need water. They're just air. It's just insane. Yeah.
Yeah, that is mad.
Yeah.
Like a cactus. Like a cactus.
Yeah. Or cacti for plural. Cacti. Dude, I think we've done an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Have we? Yeah, 9 o'clock. Boom. Got anything to add?
No, I think we can wrap up.
We should probably try and sell some shit when we start getting views.
Have you closed it up?
Nah, I will do now. Much love, people.
See you soon, dude.
Everyone's watching. Love you.